What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Watch and Cut channel. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're going to be talking about an Emerson. This Emerson is really actually pretty damn good looking, I must say. So this is the TKO. This is a collaboration between Ernest Emerson and Tim Kennedy. Tim Kennedy is a ex-Special Forces guy. Actually, I take that back. He's still serving with the Special Forces of the National Guard, but was a former Green Beret. Prior to that, he was a semi-professional fighter. He fought in UFC professionally as well. He's kind of done the fighting while he was enlisted. It's a pretty crazy career, actually, to be honest with you. Now, Tim Kennedy is a very loud, big personality. He does a lot of YouTube podcasts, things like that. And Tim Kennedy is just one of those really large personalities. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, and sometimes it is what it is, right? It just depends on how you take things. I think his biggest criticism was the Second Amendment. He was on a podcast, I think, with Lance Armstrong, and he made some comments about more gun restrictions needed. And, that's a whole other kind of topic. I'm a gun owner. I'm a former Marine myself. So, yeah, whatever. The guy thinks whatever he thinks. But aside from that, he's had a very honorable career as a warrior and reached out to Ernest Emerson to create him a signature knife. And the first thing that Ernest Emerson said is that this knife, as he presented this knife, was going to be a no-nonsense design. It's going to be just, obviously something probably a little more combat knife-esque, right? Something large, something pokey, something that will penetrate.
That's what she said.
Material when you need it to. Yeah, and that's kind of really exactly what we got here. Kind of a combat folder, if you will. You got the typical G10 scales, which are really nice and grippy, especially when you're wearing gloves. This stuff is great. If you're not wearing gloves, it's not that great. It's actually quite rough. So there's that. I do like the cutout for the lock bar insert. You got plenty of space there. The blue accents were, like I said, something I added after the fact, but these are Emerson add-ons. We got blue back spacers right here, and yeah, they're not that blue, they're kind of, this has a nice blue-esque to it, but they're not all the same color, and that's kind of what you expect with kind of add-on parts, right? Next thing, the clip. The clip works good. You do have a lot of handle exposed out. Count on having about this much of your knife handle sticking out of your pocket. If that's something that bothers you, then, it is what it is. People will know you'll be carrying a knife. But for me, it carries fine. I actually like to have a little bit of purchase in the rear to pull the knife out of the pocket. So it works well for me. The only thing that doesn't work well for me is the fact that this G10, when it slips underneath this pocket clip, just honestly shreds pockets. It's a pocket shredding type material. Some people have ran sandpaper, have done other things to kind of speed up the aging process and things like that. But since I don't carry all my knives every day, it's not really a big issue. It's just every once in a while I'll carry an Emerson, and it's a pocket shredder. That's just all there is to it, unless I've changed the scales or something like that. The ergonomics are great. It does kind of have that dedicated grip to it where you have some finger grooving, if you will, a little bit, but it's not obnoxious, and you got plenty of grip. And I do think that if you had a larger hand, it'd kind of fit nicely regardless. So yeah, I like the handle shape quite a bit. So yeah, as far as the steel, we got the typical Emerson 154 cm stuff. It's good. It's not great. It's very good actually. Very easy to resharpen. It's tough enough. And he puts this kind of chisel edge on it. You can see kind of a micro bevel right there, kind of shining on the edge of the blade. And then you got a much larger bevel on this side here, which you can see. So that gives you a really thin, keen cutting edge. And it's fairly easy to fix in the field is the idea behind why he does that. Now, this one's not the traditional chisel grind. This is a V grind. You got a semi chisel edge-esque about it. So they call it a chisel edge. That's kind of what it is. As far as the action, it's very smooth. He runs these kind of plastic nylon washers on his knives. They're supposed to be very good against debris. They're self-lubricating. You don't oil this knife. As a matter of fact, it just keeps getting better with time as far as those washers are concerned. Doesn't mean you can't convert them to other type of washers. As a matter of fact, this one you can see has bronze washers. This one takes very little effort, and you can see how smooth this guy is. It's super smooth. So there's a guy out there that does make these. There's probably a few people out there. I actually ordered a set off of Amazon, believe it or not. We're going to try them. So I think somebody just kind of measured out what they're supposed to be at as far as thickness and just made some bronze washers. That might be the future for this one. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. We'll start off with the CQC7 it's designed for, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, very cool knife, very cool story behind the knife designer, and a very nice sizable knife. So let's do some size comparisons. So let's start off by putting it up against another Emerson. I'm going to actually put it right back up against this CQC 13. Very sizable knife. I'm trying to line them up pivot to pivot so you can see how much handle you lose versus how much blade length you lose when you're comparing the two. Next one is a knife that I thought, well, it's kind of the first thing I thought of when I opened this bad boy up, was the 0452. Now this is the 0454. I didn't keep my 0452 for reasons that I have an 0454, but you can see a lot of resemblance in the handle and blade shape overall with this guy. So that's kind of a cool comparison. Kind of what I think is the best comparison, honestly. So there you have it. That's a Sinkovich design, in case you guys didn't remember. Old school ZT Custom. Here it is against a CQC7, kind of Emerson's staple knife here. With the freedom flag scales, which I love, and then of course the We the People clip. What a great knife. But yeah, so that'll give you kind of a medium-sized knife, a little bit larger knife to large, That is definitely a large knife nonetheless. All right. Think we should spec this thing out real quick. So let's call this 3.8 inches, pretty much as advertised. The cutting edge, you usually sacrifice a little tiny bit. That's pretty good right there. Honestly, you're not hardly sacrificing anything with this one. As far as the handle length, we have 5.2. So we got 0.55 inches thick on the handle. That's pretty good. Thickness on the blade, 0.12 inches. That's really nice right there. So it's not a really super crazy thick blade as far as the blade stock is concerned. It is rather long and pokey, which obviously is really nice. Doesn't have a whole lot of belly, which obviously would be something really nice if it had a little bit more accented belly. But for penetration purposes, God, that word sounds funny. This is going to be actually a better tool for that type of purpose. So being that, you know, he's kind of a self-defense guru type dude, yeah, that's going to be kind of his thing, right? Another thing too I didn't show is the box in the bag. So here's the box on this guy. I always like how they laser engrave that. That's your TKO SF model. And inside the box comes this bag with your sticker and your knife inside of it. Another thing too is all this stuff. So when you do order your knife and you have them put these parts on, they do send the factory stock parts back with the knife on top of, you know, installing the new hardware. So I like this thing. It's pretty nice. We'll do a full review on this guy at some point and do some cool, crazy edits on it when I get a little more time to spend with it, get to learn the knife, get to use it a little bit, and get acquainted with it. As for now, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you leave a comment. And this is Alex from the Watch and Cut channel, out for the evening.